There was a season in my life where the silence was louder than any crowd, where the darkness wasn't just around me, it lived inside me. I know what it means to hit rock bottom. Not just the kind people talk about when they lose a job or make a mistake, but the kind where you question your worth, your future, your purpose. But what I found at the bottom was not my end. It was the beginning. See, sometimes God lets us fall so we can finally stop running and start rising. So, tonight I'm not here as someone who's always had it together. I'm here as someone who crawled her way out of the pit, who wiped her tears with faith, and who learned that when you walk with God, even from rock bottom, you don't just survive, you become unstoppable. Rock bottom isn't a label, it's a location. And just like any location, it's not meant to be permanent. But too often, we confuse where we are with who we are. We think that because we've fallen, we are failures. Because we're broken, we're worthless. Because we're hurting, we're hopeless. But that is a lie the enemy wants you to believe. Because if he can convince you that your rock bottom is your forever, he can stop you from ever rising. Rock bottom is where God does his most intimate work. It's where every distraction has been stripped away, where every false support has crumbled. It's where pride no longer has a voice, and all that's left is the quiet whisper of grace calling you back to purpose. It's the place where masks fall off and we confront the truth, not to condemn us, but to free us. Some of the strongest people you admire didn't start on mountaintops. They started in pits. They started with pain, with regret, with shame. But they didn't stay there. They used the bottom as a place to remember who they were before the world broke them. They used it as a launching pad, not a grave. When you're at rock bottom, you have a choice. You can sit in it and accept defeat, or you can decide that this isn't your final chapter. You can dig deep, even when the ground is cold and hard, and find the courage to stand again. The beauty of hitting the bottom is that there's no further to fall. The only direction left is up. And every step you take from that place is a step of power, because it's no longer about who you were. It's about who you're becoming. Healing doesn't begin in the spotlight. It begins in the shadows. It starts in the quiet moments when you're finally honest with yourself about the pain you've been carrying. The truth is, you can't heal what you won't face, and you can't be free from what you keep pretending doesn't hurt. Many of us are walking around smiling, succeeding, showing up for everyone else, while silently bleeding on the inside. We've mastered the art of hiding, but healing demands exposure, not to people, but to God. He's not intimidated by your wounds. He's not ashamed of your brokenness. He wants it, all of it. Surrender isn't weakness, it's warfare. It's not giving up, it's letting go of the illusion that you can fix it all on your own. When you stop hiding behind pride, fear, and perfectionism, you give God access to the real you, the version that needs grace, the version that cries at night, the version that's been carrying childhood pain, silent disappointments, and buried trauma. And that's the version He wants to heal. We often think healing is instant, but most times it's layered. It's messy. It doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like reliving pain before you can release it. Sometimes it looks like forgiving people who will never apologize. Sometimes it looks like choosing to speak truth over yourself, even when you don't believe it yet. But none of that can happen until you surrender. Until you open your heart, unclench your fists, and invite God into the places you swore you'd never revisit. The very act of surrender is what begins to shift the atmosphere of your soul. It's where healing breathes. It's where freedom starts to break through, not because you're strong enough, but because you finally stopped trying to be. God doesn't just put broken pieces back together. He creates something entirely new. Restoration with God isn't about returning to who you were before the pain, the failure, or the fall. It's about becoming someone greater, someone wiser, someone refined by fire. When God steps into your story, He doesn't just rewind it. He rewrites it. He uses what was meant to destroy you as the very foundation to build what will elevate you. That's not just restoration, that's redefinition. So many of us are waiting for life to go back to the way it used to be. But God is calling you to step into something far beyond what was. He's calling you to release the version of yourself that played small, that lived in fear, that settled for less. Because when God heals, He also launches. He sends you out with new vision, with new strength, and with a testimony that carries power. There's a difference between being restored and being released. Restoration heals what was broken. But release empowers you to move forward with authority. It turns your pain into purpose, your wounds into weapons, your scars into stories that speak life into others. That's the kind of transformation God specializes in. He didn't save you just so you could sit in silence. He raised you so you could rise up and lead, so you could walk in rooms with confidence, so you could carry light into dark places that you once lived in. When you've walked through the fire and come out on the other side, you no longer carry the weight of what tried to break you. You carry the glory of the one who brought you through, and that glory makes you unstoppable, not because of your strength, but because of His power working through you.